Welcome to the My Postgrad Life podcast. Today, I'm joined by Chris Taranto, a graduate student at Vanderbilt University working towards his PhD in cancer biology with focus in pancreatic cancer research. Hear what Chris has to say about conducting potentially life-saving research at such a young age, staying present during a long-term career commitment, and how scientific practices reveal themselves during everyday decisions. Let's begin. Can we just start off explaining a little bit about what you do every day, what you're going towards, things like that? What is it you do?
Yeah, so I'm a graduate student at Vanderbilt, getting my PhD in cancer biology. So I'm still a student at the moment. So I work in a lab on a daily basis, and kind of classes will break up lab time here and there. And then what happens is once I finish my classwork, I am eligible to go through a qualifying exam. And what that looks like is I have to write basically a paper and then orally defend that paper with PowerPoint and presentation. And with my program, it's a two-step process. So once I get past that, I'm considered a candidate. Mm-hmm. And then once that happens, I'm eligible to graduate, but that probably won't be for another 2 or 3 years.
What is the whole timeline looking like from start of the program to finishing?
Yeah, so you come in, at least the way Vanderbilt works, you come in and you do 4 rotations. So you rotate with 4 different labs to try and figure out the things you enjoy, the things you like. I started by rotating in a yeast lab that looked at basically osmosis and how cells respond to salty water. So how yeast respond to salty water. So I did that rotation, then I rotated with a pancreatic cancer lab, and that's the lab I'm currently with. And then I did a rotation with a fly lab, and they did a lot of like wound healing stuff, how that works. And then my last rotation was with a colon cancer lab. So ultimately, after you do those 4 rotations, that goes from August to about March. And then after March, you kind of have to make your decision. So that is a pretty stressful time for most students because you're picking a lab and a spot for the next 5 years. And there's a lot of things you have to weigh. Your boss, basically your PI, so principal investigator, that's what they're referred to in the science field. So you have to consider your PI, the research you'll be doing. Are you happy with that? And then also the lab environment. Is it an environment that is very stressful, or is it a more laid back environment? Is it a big lab? Is it a small lab, only 2 to 3 people on top of your boss? Or is it, a lab that's got 15 to 20 people? And you can kind of get lost in those labs, I find. So I picked one that is right in the middle. We have about 8 to 15 people, I think, but consistently like 5 or 6 people are always in the lab.
What other factors that you thought about specifically? I know you kind of laid them out, but like what were the ones that you specifically were like, this is why I'm doing pancreatic
so that was a personal reason for me. I was not personally affected by it, but family members that were, and that was the whole reason I was originally doing research at more of a developmental point. So I was looking at zebrafish regeneration and these long-fin zebrafish, and then my grandfather was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and that's when I really shifted my research to that, or I wanted to shift my research to that, and I feel like this was a good opportunity to do that, and that was a big reason that I ended up choosing this lab, because I really feel like I wanted to make an impact on that disease specifically.
Yeah, let's talk about that impact, because you're 24 years old. You're doing all this heavy research. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, what I do for work is, if the bank doesn't get their reports, they'll find another person. I mean, it's not that grand on the scheme of on the scale of what you're doing. So what is it like being young and just kind of having this research that's going to be pretty impactful and hopefully make an impact in people's lives?
Yeah, it's a wonderful opportunity. I'm very grateful to be able to do it. And it's work that is gratifying when it goes well. It can be tumultuous at times. Things fail a lot. Experiments fail all the time. So it leaves you with this sense of failure a lot, because something that was supposed to work out, something that you've done a million times, might just, for whatever reason,
Not work.
stuff doesn't want to cooperate, and so that can be frustrating. But when it does work, it is really nice, especially when you in the cancer field, to see the impact you can be making. My lab does a lot of there's kind of two ends to research. There's the basic science side, and then there's the translational aspect. And they both work together to basically get things from what's called the bench to the clinic. And the bench is just what you think, a laboratory is, people doing experiments, all that stuff. But a lot of times, that's with cells, that's with mouse models. So that really, there's a lot of steps that go to get from that to be able to, an FDA approved drug. So we work more on the earlier end of that process, trying to make discoveries that could potentially lead to things that could help patients. So being able to have that and find and discover new things really is just exciting.
With such a long time frame, what does like progress look like? How do you know you're going in the right direction?
Yeah, I mean, most things start with in vitro work, and what that means is cells in a dish. So if things start to look good in that, you start to see, say you identify a new drug that seems to stop cancer cells from growing. And you have your control group, untreated, and you have your treated group that's getting the drug, and the treatment drug is just killing those cells. That's great, but cancer's been cured in a dish many times. So next you move into usually a mouse model, and to see if things look similar in mice. So you will basically put tumor cells into a mice, or we have mice that spontaneously get cancer, basically. And then you try that in mice, and then if that looks good, you start to maybe move into larger animals, potentially pigs. Sometimes dogs are used for dosing. So that's the side of research that isn't the most fun, is working with these animals. But it's kind of necessary, unfortunately.
Is that just to get like mass that's comparable to a human, or why?
Yeah, a little bit. It's what you want to have, a biologically complex system. Like things in a dish are, they're cultured, and like all the conditions are exactly perfect. But things in the human body, things in a mouse, are just, there's so many more factors. Like you have the cancer cells, but then you have the things surrounding the cancer cells, like blood vessels, stroma, and that's just like collagen, fibroblasts, other cell types, immune cells. So there's a lot that plays into it. So that stuff can just totally affect how drugs work in cells. So that's the main reason you need to like start to look into these models. And then a lot of it too is for toxicity effects. These drugs are, it's not like Advil.
Oh yeah.
So it's meant to, have a cell basically explode. Wow. So there's a couple different types of cell death, but so like you need to know toxicity effects. Like, is this going to be, if we put this into a mouse, is it going to be toxic to the mouse? Then we can't move forward with it.
Is there a certain level of threshold where it's got to be toxic enough to kill the cell you're targeting, but also...
Yeah, so that's the thing with cancer therapeutics is the threshold for toxicity is far higher than any other field, because you're willing to take the risks of, all right, we'll take these acute side effects right now, the rashes, the hair loss, the GI tract stuff, if it's going to kill the cancer. So that's where you really have to weigh the pros and cons, and the threshold definitely is higher for cancer research.
Just going back on the failure aspect, how do you deal with that? How do you keep going, when there is a lot of failure kind of stacked up, like how do you keep going mentally, with the research, staying motivated on that?
Yeah, it's difficult. It's something, you may know with baseball.
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
baseball actually helped me with that because, you fail in baseball all the time, so you always have another opportunity. And it's the same thing with research. Science experiment doesn't work. You can just try it again.
What's a good batting average for a science experiment?
Oh, depends what it is.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes it may be 1,000 and sometimes it may be, 30%. So, yeah.
Yeah. It just varies depending on
Yeah.
what you're targeting. That's interesting, man. And that's that's really cool that is something am so far away from science fields and like, I took physics in high school and I was like, that was the only type of science I liked. I didn't really go into biology. So it's interesting hearing you and being excited about that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And knowing you and hearing the excitement in your voice and the passion that you have, it's kind of crazy, especially meeting an undergrad and kind of transitioning. I do want to ask because, undergrad we met and we can tell the story later on in a bit. But we met junior year. How kind of far back did it go that you kind of knew you wanted to go into this research path and like you want to, go in the lab every day and that was your thing?
So I always was fascinated with biology. I liked all kinds of science. I loved physics. I think physics is fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
But I always was kind of drawn to biology. I remember there was these like kids book I used to read all the time that had these like photos and it was like basic descriptions, like that sort of thing. And I fell in love with that. So from there, I always wanted to be a doctor. And I was always interested in radiology.
Yeah.
And then I shadowed a few doctors and it just wasn't my cup of tea.
Why not?
I think it's a very tough, it takes a certain mental fortitude, and an ability to like deliver bad news and not be affected mentally with that. Like I recently shadowed an oncologist who deals with cancer patients, and that was tough.
Yeah, I can
So that was, and it's just that aspect of it. But I still really wanted to make a big impact. So I shadowed after my sophomore year. So that summer going into junior year, I shadowed, realized it wasn't my thing. And I kind of stumbled into research. I took a class that was required for my major. It was research experience in biology. And I always liked the molecular side of biology as opposed to the more environmental ecology standpoint. And that class went well. I really enjoyed it. And the professor who was running it invited me into her lab. And, I had never done research before. And at the time I was like, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
I'll give it a shot. And, it went well. I loved it. I just loved the experiments. I loved going into lab. And then that year went on. I got into that whole year went, and then it was summer going from junior year to senior year. And I was starting to think about my career path. I knew I wasn't going to be a doctor anymore. Wasn't really prepping for med school. And I sat down with my professor and she said, I think you would be great in grad school. I think you should go get your PhD. And I was like, okay, why not?
Yeah.
Because I like to research enough.
Yeah.
That's the thing with the PhD. You need to love research because it's such a grind.
Yeah, and I bet, it's funny, like, sometimes you need somebody from the outside that you respect, you've worked with a lot, and, like, you know their work, just to be like, hey, this is something that I can see you doing. And even that just, like, puts this idea in your head of, like, oh, yeah, maybe, maybe if I wasn't sure before, like, maybe I can do this, or, like, this is something for me. So that's cool that you had that moment. You want to continue on telling how you ended up at Vandy?
And sure. So there's two routes from there. It was always, I was going to try to get my PhD, but applying right out of undergrad can be difficult, especially I didn't have a ton of research experience at the time. I was gonna have about a year and a half by applying, which isn't a lot.
Yeah.
So the applicant pool was pretty saturated that year, especially because of COVID and the way everything worked out. People were taking gap years, and my two options were to apply right for PhD programs or go work as a research assistant or a research tech somewhere. So I applied, but I also applied. I applied to a couple schools, but then I also applied to jobs as well, primarily in Boston. And as I was applying to those jobs, I was starting to hear back. I had a few interviews for those jobs, and then I got really, really close to getting a job at MIT with a pretty big lab, which was really, really exciting. And then I went down to the final. It was like I had an interview there, met everyone, met who I'd be working with, and things were going great. And then I didn't hear back for a bit. And I think a week before I heard from that, I got an interview at Vanderbilt. And then I didn't get the job, basically. Long story short, at MIT, which was a big bummer because I thought for sure, I had it, and it was really exciting. And it was the kind of thing, if I got that job in that lab, I could have gotten my PhD anywhere, basically.
Yeah.
Because the way it works is you have a letter of recommendation. You have a letter of recommendation from this. You can get in pretty much anywhere is the way it works. But I had this interview at Vanderbilt, and the people at the lab were very, very nice, and they gave me some advice, for how to interview, as well as the people at Wheaton. And very thankful for everyone that helped me, because the interview ended up, going really well, and I ended up getting in. And I only applied to 3 schools. I applied to MIT, Duke, and Vanderbilt, and I got rejected from both Duke and MIT, which isn't shocking at all, because I needed way more experience. So the fact that I got into Vanderbilt at all was a big time shock, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I had the opportunity, so I just kind of ran with it, and very grateful for that. And then so I kind of took that because I didn't have any. Well, I had a few more interviews with some other labs, but the whole goal was to get my PhD. So why push it off?
Yeah, exactly.
So I just ended up going, and here I am.
Here you are.
So,
well, and it's funny. I mean, from my perspective, that's also just like the funny part about. I mean, we met your junior year of college, my senior year of college, and like we honestly didn't know each other before that. We started hanging out, like playing golf, and eating at the dining hall. I mean, things that you just normally do in college, right? And then we happened to live in the same dorm. Like this was like crazy coincidence stuff. And then, I mean, so we graduated. We keep in touch every once in a while, and then it came around March. Where you were saying, hey, to me and our buddy Dom, and you said, hey, I got an interview at Vanderbilt, and we had just moved to Nashville. I mean, 7 months before. So the fact that it all lined up out of all the places, I mean, it could have been the 1 out of 3 you got into Duke, and that would have been in Carolina, but it just happened to be Vanderbilt, Nashville. It's just so crazy how it all lined up. No. And here we are. I mean, that's just the weirdest thing about life. And when you start to, I was on the phone yesterday with a longtime friend of mine. We were just talking about little, just like butterfly effects of how each little thing kind of leads into the next. It's just like the craziest. And I'm sure it would have worked out anywhere else. Whatever happened, but just the fact that it happens the way it does, it's just you can't explain it sometimes.
No, I mean, you talk butterfly effect. I feel like that's how my whole life has played out.
Yeah.
Like starting in high school, from like how I found myself at Vanderbilt. Like high school, basketball didn't go great, and then I decided to shift my focus to baseball and start working harder at baseball, and that ended up playing out well. And Wheaton recruited me, and things were going well there. So I really, the main reason I went to Wheaton, they had a good biology program. And that's why I felt okay going there to play baseball. I mean, that was my only offer. So I went there and enjoyed that, and then baseball, stopped being, what I thought it was going to be, and then I obviously picked up research because of that. I wouldn't have had time for both. It would have been way too difficult. So I picked up research and then I stumbled into that, and then the job at MIT didn't work out, so I shifted my focus out of grad school, and that ended up being that way. So you talk about all these things don't go well. A door seems to close
Yeah.
But another door really is opening when that happens. You know, I think it's really, really hard in the moment when things don't play out how you expect it to just take a deep breath and realize that it, easier said than done, just wasn't meant for you. And to accept that and understand that a new door is going to open somewhere. It's just not clear to you right now.
That's great.
So.
Do you ever in that moment you question that decision that you make? I mean, because these are big life decisions. I mean, you moving to a whole new state, new city, different way of life, invested in this program. I mean, like, what are the thoughts that are coming on the back end of, like, maybe you shouldn't do this, or maybe there's an alternate?
Yeah, I mean, when I first started the program and moved down, especially in about a year ago, the spring of end of winter, early spring of 25, there's a lot of doubts in my mind.
Yeah.
It was it was difficult. I wasn't sure if this was the thing for me. I felt like I'd kind of lost my passion a little bit for it. And trying to keep that in check, I was really missing my family as well. I have a very close-knit family, and, missing them because everyone lives back, in upstate, and I just trying to sort through that. Okay, this is my life now. This is what I need to do.
Yeah.
This is what's best for me, is to kind of start writing my own ship. And I think that's what the hardest thing is, that realization, is it's, okay, I'm trying to build my own life away from my parents, away from my family, but not because I don't care about them, but because this is what's best for me. And what was best for me at the time was moving 1,000 miles away.
Yeah.
And until you realize that and understand that you can have both, like, you can still be there for your family, it's hard. Am I making the right decision?
Yeah.
I don't feel like I am right. Like, back then I was like, I don't feel like I am right now.
Yeah.
But, I think it was, so.
Yeah, I know for me, the thing that kept on, coming up in my mind about moving away, is, like, you built up this whole life, friends, connections, opportunities for jobs, your parents, your family, like, so many things located in one space. And you spend 20 years doing that. It doesn't just, like, happen overnight where all of a sudden you have this kind of, knit community, where you grew up. But then all of a sudden, just, like, leaving that behind, it almost seems like, oh my God, like, this is crazy. On paper, you're giving up so much for the unknown of what's going to happen, and that's the chance you take.
Yeah.
Has there been anything else that's been challenging as far as leaving home and living away from your family and stuff like that?
Yeah, just trying to manage everything, trying to manage commitments.
Yeah.
It's such a different, especially, like, graduating college, just trying to, I mean, this was, at Wheaton, it was, everything was on, all the housing was pretty much on campus.
Yeah.
Like, nobody lived.
We went to a very small school.
Yeah. So I, like, I'd cooked for myself and stuff before, but, everything was the dining hall for 4 years. So it was, moving down and trying to figure out, like, okay, I have to wake up. I got to make breakfast now. I have to get to work on time. I have to get back, and I have to, like, make dinner, but I still want to get to the gym and do all these things. And that was the biggest change for me, at least initially, was trying to manage and all of that. Because I think sometimes I get lost and I don't find time for the things that I enjoy doing. And then it just becomes, a slog, and things stop being enjoyable if you're not finding the time to do what you love.
How do you balance that and find the time?
I try and allot, like, 2 hours every day, or say certain things are non-negotiable, like the gym for me, or, like, an activity to go and exercise, whether it be, okay, like, we're going to go play tennis. Like, I'm going to play tennis today.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to go skate today. Or if I have a game that day, like, that's my activity for the day. But, like, no matter what, no matter how busy I am, I always will set aside time to do that. Even if I have a ton of homework, even if I'm in lab till 7 or 8 p.m., like, I'm going to the gym.
Yeah.
Like, it's happening.
Yeah.
So.
And one thing I will say about you is you've come here and you've found I mean, it doesn't happen immediately, but you found men's league baseball,
Yeah.
men's league hockey, different friends, whether it's inside your lab, outside the lab, different, things that we've picked up, playing tennis, playing golf. Like,
Yeah.
you have all these things going on, and you've done that pretty well. But that time, as you would probably say, doesn't happen right away. And I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
just from conversations that I've had with other people, and just like I know myself, like sometimes you just want that old life that you had back home. You want that immediately, and then if
Yeah.
it's not going like that, then it's like, oh my God, what am I doing here?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was a totally different, you're right, a totally different life when you moved down. And I think, you expect it to be the same, and it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And, I love how things are down here. And once I realized it's not the same, and it sounds obvious now, but it really is different.
Mm-hmm.
And once you come to that realization and settle into that it's a different life, and you find the new things that you like to do, or the old things, but here,
Yeah.
things feel a lot easier. You feel a lot more comfortable, and like it starts to feel like home again,
Yeah.
but in a different way.
Do you kind of just accept the fact that it's new, and like it's okay to not feel like home? Like,
Yeah.
that's almost what it sounds like. It's like, this is a different place.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't have to feel the same thing. And I think for a lot of people too, you can kind of reinvent yourself using that.
Yeah.
If there's something that you don't want to do anymore,
Yeah.
you don't have to do that. If there's something you want to pick up, I mean,
Yeah.
pick that up.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of that, I found it as an opportunity to pick up hockey. I've always wanted to do that, and I started to do it back at home, but I really kind of lean into it now,
Yeah.
and I absolutely love it, and I really enjoy it.
Yeah, and I enjoy going to the going to the games.
Yeah.
Those are fun.
Yeah.
Those are fun.
Yeah, I really like the idea that you're able to almost reinvent yourself. I like to I try and took the pieces of my old life that I really liked and enjoyed, and trying to apply the new stuff, new things, and find new things. And I really seen like a big change in myself since, moving out and moving here, because what was I? Like I'm doing things now, or like, living in a place now that I never thought I would live. Like, I always grew up, I'm never going to live in a city.
Yeah.
and now, like, I'm literally living in the middle
of the city.
So like that stuff's cool, and it's changed me because I like to try new things now, and I never used to do that. Like, I used to kind of sit in my safe, protected space, and now I'm happy to go out and really do anything, try anything.
Yeah.
Meet new people, talk to new people.
How did that transition come? Because I agree. I mean, just knowing you,
I think it was just I kind of got sick of the same old stuff, and I got sick of almost feeling unhappy.
Yeah.
I was just tired of the same old stuff, and I was ready to make a change. And I don't think it was like one day I woke up and I was like, all right, today's the day I'm making a change. But it was just like a slow process, like reaching out to people, getting on like the Facebook groups to try and reach out to join a hockey team, instead of just like thinking it would somehow like find me. Like, that doesn't. And really taking those steps to help yourself out, because once you graduate, you don't have an advisor anymore. I mean, you do in my program, but it's less structured. So it's like, all right, you got to take these classes this semester. Like, you're on your own, and if you don't police yourself, like, you're gonna fall behind. So I think that was the biggest change, is realizing like I have to be the one to take care of my growth.
Yeah. Has there been, so you didn't really have much of a break from undergrad to getting your master's now. What has been different from the undergrad to postgraduate program, and are there any things that also have been the same that help you kind of carry on through it?
I think the thing that was nice about coming right from undergrad to postgrad life is you don't really lose the ability to take classes. Not that you do,
Yeah.
but like the people who take breaks definitely say that getting back into like didactic classwork is weird and they
Yeah.
didn't miss it at all.
Yeah, you fall out
You
of
know,
rhythm, I can imagine.
Yeah, so I never had that break, which was nice. But then also, so I came in, I was 22 when I came into the program, or 23. And so I came right out of undergrad, and I had far less research experience than, the 26-year-old that came in with 3 years worth of research experience at a very high profile lab.
Yeah.
But so where I maybe was able to handle classwork better, I just didn't have as much research experience, which does play into the fact of getting your PhD. Like I have a lot more to learn about doing experiments, handling. Honestly, the biggest thing about lab I find, and balancing lab and school, is trying to handle all my commitments. I have classes, I have to go to lectures, I have to do experiments, I have to present at meetings, and that's something I don't think I was prepared for coming out of undergrad, that I think somebody who has had time in the workforce is better to handle. So that's been the biggest hurdle for me, I think, coming straight out of undergrad and going into graduate school. But yeah.
Well, I think about, maybe this is true, maybe this is not. Maybe you can help me answer this. A lot of the times I hear that undergrad college is you're learning how to learn. Is that more the same, or are you applying now, kind of, are you applying whatever subject matter you're going after now that you're there, or are you still focused heavily on learning how to learn?
I think a PhD in graduate school is more about learning how to think and learning about how to address a problem.
Yeah.
I think it's less so about learning how to learn.
Yeah.
Because you have to police your own learning. Like I spend a lot of time just reading papers that have been published online. And if I'm not doing that, like I'll fall behind. So I have to police my own learning for the most part.
And that's just outside of...
That's just outside, like that's outside
work,
classes.
yeah.
So it's a lot of like how to think. Like my experiment didn't work. How can I get it to work?
Yeah.
Or I have this data, I have these results. What does this mean? And how should we move forward with this? We got this data back, but did it work? Did the experiment work? Or is this data because there was a technical error with something? Or this data is great. What do we do with it now? What experiments do we move forward with that will help us solve the question we're asking? Because everything we do is centered, around the hypothesis, basically. And the reason I like biology so much is it feels like a huge puzzle. Yeah. And like we're trying to figure out what goes on inside a cell. And it's like, what experiments can we do to get to the bottom of that? So,
is it more qualitative work, or is it?
No, it's a mix. It's a mix of qualitative and quantitative. We do a lot of imaging stuff, which is really cool. But then we always have to quantitate that, because at the end of the day, it comes down to numbers and statistics, and that sort of thing. Yeah. So,
I mean, that's. Do you feel like there's way that kind of mode of thinking and going about problem solving? Do you ever see that coming up in everyday life?
Yeah, I think so. I use it a lot to manage my, my responsibilities. I'm thinking of, it's kind of weird, but I look at how I manage my day-to-day almost very analytically. Yeah. Like trying to work out all the things I need to get done, what I have time for, and say, okay, can I try and switch my order around to make everything work out? Or am I really just going to need to drop something for the day? Like, is this just too much? Am I going to spread myself too thin? Or am I going to, not let somebody down, but I don't want to, let's let somebody down in the sense of like, you make a commitment and then you can't be there. So it's like managing that stuff, I find it does help with, because, I have to time experiments. Things take, 2 or 3 hours. Like I'm aware of that, but I'm also aware that things can go wrong and it can push something an extra hour and a half. So managing that, and realizing that you need to put in buffer time for things. And so that way, you can get everything done.
Buffer. I always talk about buffer times when writing my blog posts, just because there's always room for stuff to go wrong.
Yeah.
And you might as well have that extra. I mean, just when you're planning out your morning, when you're planning out your day, everything could be so aligned. But if you have an extra 30 minutes, an extra hour of unscheduled things going on, and also kind of gives yourself a little time to breathe, not makes things so stressful. What is it? Have you been able to deal with stress better at all? Does that play into it?
Yeah, recently, yeah. But when I first moved down, it was a lot. And I think that was because I hadn't been in the workforce yet.
Yeah.
So it was a lot.
There's that workplace experience. Yeah.
So I think it was a lot of trying to manage like my daily responsibilities on top of all the schoolwork and lab work I needed to get done, that I just hadn't really dealt with before. Everything on my plate, and just personal stuff outside of work, and weddings you need to go to, and going to see friends.
Yeah.
And making time for that. And I really didn't understand how difficult that was. And it was definitely a big piece of my stress when I first moved down, was trying to sort through all that, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what life is about. And all of a sudden you leave this vacuum that's college, and you're kind of thrown out into the world. It's like, you got to manage all this stuff. And the thing I always think about too is it only gets harder. So the quicker you can realize managing all this stuff, I mean, think about when you have to worry about, a wife and kids and aging parents and all these other stuff. Jobs become more complicated, like all these other things. I mean, it only gets increasingly more difficult.
Yeah.
The older you get.
Yeah, trying to figure it out early is the best thing you can do.
Yeah.
And I don't think you ever stop trying to figure it out. I think it's always
lifelong pursuit.
Yeah. But you can definitely manage how it affects you more, or manage it better. I think the most important thing is oftentimes we feel like we have to get everything done, and we do. But if you aren't taking time for the things you enjoy, or if you're overworking yourself, it's impossible to handle everything. It sounds kind of counterintuitive.
Yeah.
But I think it's because you don't have the mental capacity, or like, I say the word bandwidth a lot.
Yeah.
to handle to handle it all.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Some days I get home and I still have stuff I need to do. And I just, I don't feel like doing it because I overworked myself at work. And trying to handle all that. So.
Yeah. So your recipe for avoiding burnout is to really just
take time for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's hard to do. Like right now I'm in the middle of a pretty, I just have a lot to do right now with this one class. It's pretty intensive, and trying to, like, I understand that I have to push myself past where I normally would. But knowing like I still need to take time. Yeah. Otherwise, like, I can't be, the best version of myself for my friends, and everything, or my family. And, it's hard because, I'm so passionate about this, and, that you want to, you need to obviously lean into it, but like how much? Yeah. How much is too much? Like, am I going to lean into it so much that I'm thinking about it all the time that I'm really not going to make any progress because I'm thinking about it constantly? Or I'm up till midnight, 1 a.m. trying to read stuff, research stuff, trying to analyze stuff. Is it just bad work that I'm doing? Yeah. Am I just less efficient at that point? And really trying to manage that, I think, has been the toughest thing, because there's definitely been points where I've burned out, and things have spiraled down, and I haven't been able to handle things well in my life, like outside relationships and that sort of thing, because of that. Yeah. And I think I'm starting to find a better happy medium because I'm taking more time for myself. Yeah. So I think that's what I really try and focus on the most.
Yeah, and it's good to recognize the balance, because there, like you said, there has to be a balance of it somewhere. Because, there's an old saying, those who need the medicine are least likely to take it, or something like that. And basically, there's probably a bunch of people that are saying, well, I need so much work-life balance that it's more life than it is work.
Yeah.
There are the times in life that you have to just put your nose down,
Yeah.
just grind, and you got to accept that's going to suck for a few weeks, couple months, whatever it is, however long that period of time is. So being able to have that skill of being able to have, head down work, but then also have the things you enjoy. And I've wrote about this, but I was at Trader Joe's, and I was checking out, and the cashiers at Trader Joe's are very friendly. They're trying to spark up conversations, and the guy just asked how I was doing. I said, I think it was just like a long week of work. I was like kind of visually tired. I was like, man, it's just tired, long week of work. And he's like, do you love what you do? I'm like, no, it's not bad. Like, I enjoy it. He goes, but does it like pay for the stuff that you enjoy to do?
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? You're right. Like at the end of the day, I can buy some guitar stuff. I can buy some subscription to Netflix. I can go out, play golf. Do what I want to do with the money that you make from the job. So it's like you got to have that balance.
Yeah, definitely.
And you can't have a whole world of not embracing any kind of hard work, because that's also not going to get you anywhere. But also, you can't just have your head down without any sunlight and expect to also go anywhere. Yeah. Speaking of money, I think this is a interesting angle from your perspective. I mean, you get paid a stipend.
Yep.
But it's not much. So, but I do know you are quite frugal, and you have your methods. What are some ways that you kind of have been able to save money and kind of go about your finances?
I try and I don't keep like a spreadsheet or anything of my monthly finances. I just kind of I put everything on a credit card. So at the end of the month, I pay it usually on the 31st or the 30th, whatever.
Yeah.
I think my due date's always the 6th. So I try and get it out at the end of the month, so that way it resets and then I have a fresh month of spending. I try and just stay under or around a certain threshold every time. But I try and live, by my means. I don't really spend much outside of food. And really just a few, extracurriculars, I guess. Like, I'll pay to go for a skate. Or, for any of like the entertainment stuff. Like I don't really drink much, so I don't really have to spend a lot of money on that. But my main expenses are food, and then also rent, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean that's a given. So yeah, it's really just that. But I am trying to allocate a little more money to buy things I enjoy. But also the main thing I do. I've talked to you about Kroger fuel points.
Oh yeah. Explain this hack to the people. This is great.
So Kroger, this is how I save tons of money, and I got a truck, so that thing goes through gas super fast. Yeah. So basically on Fridays, if you go to Kroger on Fridays, you can get 4 times fuel points.
Yeah.
So I think it's every $100 you get like 10 cents off a gallon. But if you go on Fridays, it's 4 times that. So if you drop $150 at Kroger on a Friday and like clip the coupon, that's
whatever points that is.
60, 75 cents just for that one trip.
Oh man.
So there was one month, and that accrues for the whole month. There was a month that I paid 50 cents a gallon for my like 17-gallon truck, and it was like $7 to fill up my whole tank. So I save a lot of money on gas.
Yeah.
But I do spend a lot of money on food.
Yeah.
So it kind of like evens that out.
Balances it out.
I think the biggest thing, if you, I guess as a PhD student, to save money is to really be cognizant of where the money you spend that's not rent, food, or gas.
Yeah.
It's like, where does that money go? So I pay for the gym membership because that's super, super important to me. So I'm totally fine putting away $50 a month on that. But then it's like, okay, I have some extra cash. How much do I want to be saving this month? Do I feel like I need to save this month? Like, will I be okay? I mean, the reality with the stipend is more than likely you probably won't be putting away more than like maybe $100 a month. If that, like, it's just not a realistic option.
Yeah.
And we're very fortunate we're on the higher end of stipends. So understanding like all right, do I want to spend the money on going out this month more, or do I want to spend the money on maybe going on some more stick and pucks to skate, or do I want to splurge on, a new tennis racket or get my skate sharpened, those expenses. So that's really what I think about the most is like I have my core things that I always spend money on.
Yeah.
But it's like, do I want to spend money on this extra stuff this month, or am I okay and I can just put it into the bank?
How do you weigh that decision?
Yeah, it's really just whatever I'm feeling.
Oh, it's just
it's just really
There's no like system of. I've heard things of like, if you think about buying it twice, then you should buy it. But if it's just like comes up one night,
yeah. I feel like right now, because of where I'm headed, I try and spend it more on things I'll enjoy doing at the time. Like I'm not gonna be able to skate forever.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be able to play tennis forever, but
Yeah.
I can always put away more money. Especially when like I'm very busy right now, but I have the time. Like I can 7 or 8 o'clock. Like I can just go and do whatever I want.
Yeah.
I don't have a family I need to come back to.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I spend more money on that rather than put it away, because I have more time to do that stuff, where in, however many years, I don't think I'll have that luxury.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest thing on my mind when I'm making those decisions is that aspect.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be like I'm all in favor of putting money away and saving up money, and I try to be a very tight spender and things like that. Sometimes you just have to acknowledge, though, there's going to be months where you break even. There's going to be months where you go a few $100s into savings. Hopefully you don't have many of those, but sometimes that's just the reality.
Yeah.
And I think that's a thing, too, that's a big shock is when you get that first full-time job or, experience like you have, work that you're doing, you see kind of a big number coming into your account every month.
Yeah.
Or every couple of weeks or whatever your payment frequency is. And it's like, wow, I've never seen that much kind of just like drop into my account regularly. I mean, and you see it all the time. But then also you also haven't seen money leave your account as quickly.
Yeah, when you see that
big
rent check go right out the door.
It's like the first of the month, and you're like, you get paid at the end. It's man, look at this big balance, and all of a sudden it's completely wiped out.
Yeah, and then you pay your credit card bill too. And
and then you pay your credit card bill. Yeah, and then it's completely toast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like a mind thing. But being cognizant of that and trying to be as proactive as you can, double thinking decisions. Do I really need this? Is it really going to bring much joy addition to my life rather than, a temporary fix or something like that? I mean, but that's an important skill to have. It's an important thing to realize. And also kind of what you were saying about, things in the future, you might not be able to have that luxury.
Yeah. Time.
Yeah. You have time now.
Yeah.
Is with the time now, is there anything that you're still looking to really trying to pursue further? I know obviously this PhD program takes a lot of your time, but is there anything that's like, hey, I'm looking to add something else? Or does anything feel missing and you don't know quite what that is yet?
I mean, I definitely want to sound cliche, but I definitely want to travel more.
Yeah.
And I just don't have that luxury right now. But I'm very happy with what I do at the moment. I feel like, you talk greater purpose. I feel like this is getting to what I've always felt like I was meant to do with this program. I always wanted to make a difference, and I feel like it's very fulfilling. What I'm doing right now, especially because of the personal piece of it and what I've seen people go through. I've always wanted to make an impact, and it's always been that, and then it's always been sports for me.
Yeah.
And I have a wonderful opportunity here to pretty much play anything I want. Hockey, baseball, golf, basketball. There's really not much more at the moment.
Yeah.
I could ask for, and I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah.
So I try and take a step back and think about that stuff. But I do miss music. I used to play an instrument
Oh man.
in high school. I think if I pulled my French horn out, not that I have it with me, I think my neighbors would hate me.
Probably.
Yeah, that's the thing. My roommate would too.
Yeah.
But like being away from music for a bit, I missed that actually.
Yeah.
I hated practicing, but once you like got into the concerts, like that was always a blast. So you probably can't imagine me playing an instrument, knowing me.
I'm trying to picture you playing the French horn.
Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, the French horn's not one of those that people get excited to, re-pick up. But
No.
I mean, you're in the perfect place to pick up music again if you wanted to. How, we've talked about how long of a program this is. Mm-hmm. What are ways to just kind of stay present and in the moment and kind of not think about that future? I mean, part of it you have to think about.
Yeah.
But then the other element is you can't be so fixated on that end date.
Yeah.
That you're giving up, what you're doing today or the next day.
Yeah, I mean, you always hear, trust the process, take it step by step, and don't try and look at that end goal. I find when I look at that end goal, it really spikes my anxiety because there's so much, it's such a weighty thing. There's so much I have to go through before I have these big exams, all these experiments, publishing papers. And I found it helps if I just take things day by day. Mm-hmm. I try not to plan my week in advance. I find that stresses me out a lot more.
Yeah.
That's not to say I don't know what I'm doing the next day, because if I'm not prepared, then I'll be a mess too. But trying to take things day by day, or at least what's the next thing I have to do? Mm-hmm. Like, what am I going to do after we talk here today?
Yeah.
Like, I'm really not thinking much past that. Like, I have a general idea that I lay out in the morning, or like in my head. I don't write anything down. But all right, this is what I need to get done today. But then once I start doing those things, it's all right, what's the next thing? Mm-hmm. Is the next step to go to the gym, or is the next step to go back into lab? What would be the best decision for me then? And I find doing that has helped me stay present.
Yeah.
The best.
Yeah, you just kind of take one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Do you ever, I feel like that's a good idea. You kind of have this overarching, background thing that you're obviously striving towards, but also you're kind of here. So you're not really worrying about the middle parts.
Yeah.
And it also makes me think, I read this thing where there's like two types of learners. Mm-hmm. And there's people that want to be given the end result. So say you're building a piece of furniture from IKEA. Yeah. Here's what the final thing looks like. And like it's up to you to just kind of build it to that, right? Then there's people that don't really care about that next, that big picture, whatever that is. And they want the step-by-step process for it. Do you feel like you fit in one of those camps?
I'm trying to be more of the step-by-step process. Yeah. I think I personally think that's the better way to go. Mm-hmm. But some people, can look at the big picture and have no problem. I try, and I think it's a similar thing to when I'm golfing. I find if I'm playing well, I start to think about, how's that score looking? Am I going to end up around even par today? Like, things are going well. And as soon as I start thinking about that, things fall apart. And it's just like, all right, what's the next shot I need to hit? Yeah. And translating that to real life, it's like, what's the next thing I need to do? Like, I got this huge program ahead of me, but, what's the next thing I need to do? I need to get an assignment in. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's what I need to get done today.
And that's
it.
Yeah.
And then, because, you need to build all these things to be able to, it's a 5-6 year program. Like, it doesn't just happen like that. Like, it's understanding that.
Exactly.
And I think I get lost in that train of thought sometimes. Is like you look at the big picture and the stuff that's in front of you, and getting lost in that, and then thinking about everything I have to do to achieve that can really spike some anxiety. Yeah, and stuff.
Dude, you don't know how many times I've been on the mound, and it's the fourth inning. It's like, man, I'm kind of dealing.
Yeah, no, it's the same thing.
And then instantly hit.
Yeah.
Next thing I know, let up 3 runs. It's like, well, damn, should never thought about that. What is, we just said that we don't want to talk about, think about going in the future. But what does the next, 5 or so years look like for you in the future?
hopefully, finishing up this program and graduating. And then after that, I would like to go into industry, and that would typically be, a pharmaceutical company or something along those lines. I feel like that's my next step at the moment, but I got time, and that can change.
Yeah.
I really love teaching, explaining things, especially when it comes to biology. And I would also love to be a teacher.
Yeah.
But, there's the career aspect that I think about all the time, and it's like money, right?
Yeah. You can't ignore it too.
No, you can't, and especially if you want to have a family and all these things and live a very comfortable life. My ideal route would be to get a nice job in industry, but there's also options to be like adjunct professors for night classes and that sort of thing. So that would kind of be the perfect picture in my mind, would be working for a company like that, but then also being able to teach on the side. And then eventually, I think that would be ideal.
Yeah. Do you think your passion for teaching, does it come from your passion of the subject, or also I can imagine, having good professors and the amount of school that you're doing and things like that?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. You want to pass on the knowledge you have. I think this stuff is so cool that I just, I want everyone to know about it.
Yeah.
But also I think it comes from, I've had some fantastic professors. I think the reason I had a high school teacher in 11th grade AP Bio that I think really pushed me down the biology path. But also my mom was a teacher, and I think it's kind of runs in the genes a little bit.
Yeah.
To that degree. So.
Is there anything that's really kind of stand out that you've been told by one of your professors or you've learned from your years of school?
Just to be excited about what you do. I don't feel like things can be very stressful at times, but I don't feel like I work a day in my life right now.
Yeah.
I was in for a couple hours in lab yesterday. I was in this morning. I'm going back in.
It's the weekend, by the way. It's the weekend. Let's just make that clear too.
I get so excited about science, and I think I'm very grateful for that I have this opportunity to do these things. And the idea of making a new discovery or finding something new is just super, super exciting to me. And I love that feeling. And just kind of the pursuit of that. 'Cause even if things don't work, once it eventually does, you get to look back at everything you tried and how you synthesized all this new stuff. Because when you discover something in science, nobody has ever found this before, and it's just such a cool feeling. It's really neat, and especially the fact that it's something that could potentially be beneficial for people. So.
Well, that's awesome, dude. I can hear the excitement in your voice and the passion which you speak at. I really appreciate you coming on and doing this, man. Thanks
for having me, man.
Yeah, of course.
Great time.
Yeah.